Feeling frustrated? Working hard, doing a lot of the right things? Wondering why isn't this coming together? It should work. What is the combination that I'm missing to unlock my career? Well, there is a general combination that usually works pretty well, so let's talk about that today. Hi, welcome to Nashville Artist Development University, where we provide artists like you with education and resources to build a full-time music career and a healthy life around music. My name is Corey Brunson. I've been a full-time musician, performer, and recording artist for the past 20 years. Of course, if you haven't yet, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future releases, and check out naduniversity.com in the link below. Okay, so what is this combination that you're looking for? How does that work? And how do we unlock that door to the success in your career that you're looking for? What are you missing, right? When I think about combinations, oddly enough, I think about the movie Apollo 13. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's a fantastic movie. But in fact, I'm such a NASA nerd. Look, I even got my coffee mug here today, my command module from Huntsville, Alabama. That's where I drink my coffee out of in the morning because I'm a NASA nerd. So Apollo 13, there's an astronaut character in there who's a real person named Ken Mattingly, and he's played by Gary Sinise. And if you watch the movie, Gary Sinise playing Ken Mattingly is trying to get all this combination done for the Apollo 13 command module to turn their power back on as they're coming back towards Earth. And he keeps trying all these different combinations. Should we start, this way, this way, this way, and this way, or should we do it this way, this way, and this way? And the right combination will get their command module powered up and literally save their lives so they can come back and not die on the space mission. That's what my brain goes to. Maybe you're kind of feeling that same way in your career. Like, is it this combination in this order or this combination in this order? And that can be very frustrating at times. So I wanted to talk to you today about the right combination. It's so important that artists build their career in order, just like any business, whether it's a hamburger stand or a department store or an insurance agency or a music career. If you don't build it in order, you run into big problems. So what is that order? Let's go over that. So if you don't know, our online music career program that we have here at Nashville Artist Development University is in a very specific order, and all of our pillars are numbered sequentially. They're not just random numbers. Of course, we offer the individual pillars for artists as they need those, but if you're building a career, you really need to be doing it in order or you're going to have a really tough time. That's why we put these in order for you. Okay, so what is it, Corey? Just give us the order. Just get to it, man. Just say it. Okay, let's get into it. The order. So number one is personal development. Why is personal development the first pillar? Because you really need to look at yourself. I've done a few videos about that as well, but many times artists are out there trying to get producers to do things and photographers to do things and studio and website and social media to do things for them, and they fail to look at themselves enough and say, listen, I'm at the center of this. And my personal health, remember we're always talking about a healthy life around music. And if you skip over this part in some fashion, if you don't look at yourself and are consistently looking at yourself, you're going to end up maybe successful, but miserable. So personal development starts to create your brand. It's actually the beginning phases of that, learning more about who you are. It's really, really important to bifurcate your viewpoint, that you have part of you that is valuable in the market, right? Your product has value in the market, and as you build your product and build your company, the value of your product and your company and your career will go up, but there is value that you have as a human, just personally, as a human being. That has nothing to do with that. And that value is set, in my opinion. You have inherent value that cannot be changed regardless of what's going on with your career. And that sounds a little bit, floofy, but there's a lot of people in a lot of industries that get into trouble when we think those two should be maybe cross-pollinating a little bit too much or really at all. So part of that personal development is separating those out, really getting a handle on that. It's a foundational thing, but it bleeds and leaks into every part of your life and every part of your career. So you need to get that settled and some of those things in place and start building your brand very early on, because it's really going to support everything else that you're doing down the road, and it will show up. So step number one, personal development. All right, number two, songwriting, right? Basic thing. Most of the time, the artists that I've worked with and that I've talked to, their songs can be a lot better. All of us need to be better songwriters. Or if you're not a writer yourself, you need to learn how to spot really great songs maybe that you're getting from other writers. It doesn't do us much good to go out into the market and start recording and marketing things and getting on social media if our songs suck, right? So we've got to have great songs. And a lot of the songwriters here in Nashville have a very famous phrase, it all starts with a song. And there's a lot of truth to that. So that's why number 2 is songwriting. All right, number 3, one of my favorite, if not my favorite pillar that we have, support team. Support team is something very unique, as far as I know, to Nashville Artist Development University. And Jason and I came up with this idea because of personal experience. We've seen so many relationships that are broken because people are getting into the music business. We've seen so many parents or spouses or friends come in and try to help an artist and actually end up hurting their career because they don't really know the industry themselves, even though they have very good hearts and they love this person they're trying to help out. So support team is there to start gathering people around you. Okay, so we did personal development, yourself, songwriting. Let's start getting that much better early. Okay, well, let's not let you go down this road alone. Let's get you some help and support, but let us educate them in what they need to know about the music industry because they don't know how the music industry works. And that's a really tough position for them to be in to try to help out with something they really don't know that much about. So let's start gathering people around you so you don't have to walk this thing alone and get some support for you. So number 3, support team. So you've worked on yourself, got your songwriting, got our support team coming in to surround you. Let's not just have better songs. Let's make you a better singer and more proficient at your instrument. So instrument and vocal training or polishing is pillar number 4. Why would we want to say it's instrument and vocal polishing? Well, because we're not a music school. We're not here to teach people to be a singer or to play an instrument. There's a bazillion teachers out there, but there are some things in our program that can teach you to really polish that. We need to polish up your vocals and your instrument proficiency so that as we're going to the next step, you're ready to go. Pillar 5, the one we all love. It's so much fun. Maybe this one plus live performance, but studio and recording, pillar 5. So all of this stuff has been leading up to getting into the studio and making music, the thing we all love to do, right? But why go into the studio if you're not ready with your songs? Why rush into the studio if you're not ready with your vocals and your instrument proficiency? Let's go back to pillar 1 and 2. Why do we have personal development in front of songwriting? Think about that. If you learn more about yourself, who you are, what you believe, what you think about, what you dream about, what you're passionate about, that's going to leak into your songwriting. So that's the reason personal development is ahead of songwriting. And that's why that's all ahead of studio and recording. So this is in an order for a very specific reason. So I'm trying to unpack a lot of that today of hours and hours of conversation. Hopefully you're starting to see how one begats the other and how you really can mess things up if you do them out of order. So number 5, studio and recording. Of course, that's always fun, but it doesn't produce the best results if you don't have the things ahead of it ready to go. So we've got some songs in hand. That's great. Now let's pause and work on pillar number 6, which is branding. Branding is one of those sort of nebulous things, and it's a word that gets thrown around. And most artists that I've worked with, not all, there's some that really understand it and get it, and hopefully you're one. But there's a lot of artists that have a lot of misconceptions about branding. And branding is really the experience of you. What is it like to experience your lyrics, your music, your mix, your mastering, your outfits, your stage performance, your logo, the theory of life that you have that you want to share with the world, the energy behind who you are? That's all your brand. And artists that don't take time to really discover that, remember, we don't decide our brand, you discover it. I talk a lot in other videos about the dangers of deciding your brand or just not looking at it at all. So once you've got all those songs in hand, let's start working on branding. Put together a branding deck and go through the branding exercises that we have so you can unpack and discover your brand and really understand what it is. Now, before you go out on the next pillars and go talk to people or go perform lives, you've got a handle on your brand and who you are and what you are. Even the personal development and the songwriting, pillar 1 and pillar 2, those are actually starting to set you up to discover your brand. As you go through that personal development, as you go through the songwriting process, your brand will start to unearth itself, which is what you want to discover it. So that's why all of that is ahead of that, and you want to kind of wait and let that percolate so that when you get to the branding pillar, you're ready to go, and those things can sort of inform what your brand is because you've done all that work in the past. It's so important to do these things in order. That's why we put them in order. Pillar 6, branding. Don't skip it. All right, pillar 7, social promotion. This is the one everybody loves to talk about, right? I got to get my numbers up. I got to get my social. I want to go viral. Da, 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 da. Yes, you need to do all of that, and we have information at NADU that helps you do that. One thing I will say is I do think right now, as I'm making this video, artists are a little bit addicted to that. It kind of tends to be what they view as I'm listening, what they view as sort of the magic pill that's going to unlock everything and make everything happen for them. And I really don't think that that's true. It's not that social promotion isn't important. Of course, it's important. That's why we have it as Pillar 7. But it's not the be all end all. And if you don't do a lot of the other pillars 1 through 6 ahead of social promotion, when you just rush into it and try to just do a bunch of it and get there quickly, it's really going to show up, and people are going to kind of see through the facade of like, yeah, you haven't done your homework with your personal development, with your songwriting, your vocal training, you don't have anybody supporting you. Your studio recording is okay, but not great. And by the way, the songs aren't as good as they could be. And what is your brand? I have brand confusion. I don't know who you are, but you're doing a lot of activity on social media. That's great, but it's not really getting you anywhere. So if you're struggling with some of your social promotion, check yourself and see if maybe that those pillars 1 through 6 has not been firmly established for you, and that's why it's kind of thin and weak and not really landing, and people aren't magnetized to it because you haven't done those first pieces yet, and you need to go back and solidify all that up so that when you do your social promotion, all those things are in place, really rock solid. So Pillar 7, social promotion. Okay, so you've got a lot of things in place now, and you're starting to spin up your social promotion, get some things online, and it's all cohesive because of the work you did ahead of time. That's great. Now it's time to really take the time to build your career, which means building a business. Remember, nobody's hiring in this industry. You can't get a W-2 job, a W-2 income job, singing, performing, writing, releasing music. Nobody's hiring, right? So you have to be a business person, artist, entrepreneur. So Pillar 8 is business and revenue, right? We have to build the business. We have to generate revenue. And this, I think, is, if I had to pick a spot on our 12 pillars of the crossover point, this might be it. Because a lot of artists end up doing 1 through 7 out of order and maybe a little bit scattered. Usually they don't do branding very much, but they're kind of in that world a little bit. And this is the one that we don't like to do as artists because it's boring. And there's a lot of numbers and a lot of accounting and spreadsheets and structure, and you have to deal with the IRS and get an EIN and banking and put all this stuff together. And it's like, bleh, that's no fun. And it's not fun. What's fun is the benefit that you receive later on. It's like working out. If you don't work out, you stay flabby, you stay out of shape, there's a huge penalty to pay for that physically. And if you're not putting your business together, you're not concentrating on revenue, you're not concentrating on selling, you're going to people that you want to work with and you want to talk to them, but you don't have your business structure in place, and they can see that and they can sense that. It's just you're going up against a brick wall and you're spinning your tires, and maybe some of you are feeling that. Maybe you're feeling that. So business and revenue, let's get that put together. Let's lean into it. And I'm going to talk about that later. But Pillar 8, business and revenue. Okay, Pillar 9, we just talked about why we want to wait to go to Pillar 9. Pillar 9 is networking and relationship building. So think about that. A lot of artists want to go out, they want to meet people and hand out their cards, and here's my QR code, and check me out and go to my this, that, and the other. What they haven't done the songwriting piece, they haven't done the personal development piece, they haven't really dug into their brand, right? They don't have a great studio recording of their material, and they don't have a business structure put together. So they go to meet this person, they get this one great shot. Maybe it's somebody really important that could really help you, but you don't have a business put together. You don't have your brand put together, and they're just like, oh, sorry, I can't help you. You don't have the things in place. You're a good singer, you're a good entertainer, but what about these other things that you need to have in place? You haven't done that, so I really can't do anything for you. And the sad part is they will probably be respectful to you, whoever that person is, festival buyer, booking agency, record label, manager, or just somebody that you're networking with. They probably will be respectful to you and never say those words that I just said, that you don't have these things in place, so I can't help you. They'll probably just politely keep that to themselves and just say, yeah, I'll take a look at your stuff, and you're a good singer, and I hope to see you around. And it just goes out the window, and the artist is left going, why can't I get traction? Why aren't these people magnetized to me? Many times, I mean, they may be too busy, I don't know, but many times it's because a lot of these other things aren't put in place because you're doing it out of order. So it really hinders you, because that may be your one shot. It can actually hinder you and hurt your progress to go out and meet all these people when you're not ready. But if you've done 1 through 7 really, really well, and then number 8, building your business and revenue, don't forget the revenue piece, that'll perk the ears up. When you're networking and relationship building and you have revenue, Now you're very interesting. So once you've built all that and you get to pillar 9, networking and relationship building, people are going to be so much more interested in talking to you. So it's a lot of work in 1 through 8, but it makes you so much more of a legit artist, entrepreneur when you go talk to those people. So that's why we wait until pillar 9 to talk about networking and relationship building. So it's kind of like dating, right? They say, don't look for the right person, look to be the right person, right? This is kind of the same thing. So many artists, and maybe you're doing, I did it early in my career. So many artists are out looking for the right person. And I would advise you, anybody watching this video, instead of going out and looking for the right person, really look inward at being the right person and putting all these things together in your business. It's so much easier to network and talk to people and have them want to talk with you and work with you when you've done that stuff. And now you're the right artist for them to talk to. So don't look for the right person, look to be the right person. And then once you've done all that work to be the right person and to be the right entrepreneur and business person, then go out and network and relationship build. That's pillar 9. So pillar 10, live performance, the one that we all love. What's better than being on stage and just ripping it up, right? Watching people sing your lyrics back to you, clapping, cheering, moving an audience through an experience. We love live performance. But again, if you haven't done your personal development, if you haven't done your branding, you don't even know what your band or logo needs to look like to be cohesive to present you as an artist on stage, it's going to be a mess. The songs might be good. They're maybe not as good as they could be. Your vocals may not be as good as they could be because you haven't done the polishing piece. All that stuff you can see is so important. And if you haven't done the business and revenue and you haven't networked with somebody, done relationship building with people, you're not going to have as good of live performances because you don't have a business structure in place. You don't have the right songs. You haven't met the right people because you don't have those things in place, and you're not going to get as good at gigs. You kind of seeing how all that just goes and sort of connects together in a line like a chain in the right order. Live performance is great. It's fun, but live performances that pay better because you've done all the other work and have a bigger audience because you've done all the other work, those are even funner. So live performances will get so much better and higher pay if you do the other work ahead of time. That's why live performance is down at pillar number 10. All right, pillar 11. Touring. So you've got all these other things in place. You've gone out, you're starting to network and relationship build, and they love you because you've got your business in order, you've got your house in order, your songwriting's great, you know who you are, your personal development is on par, your branding is amazing. So awesome, you're out performing live. It's time to go out and spread your wings and go into other places. It doesn't have to be on a big bus. It doesn't have to be on the road all the time. I've talked a lot in other videos that I really didn't tour at all because I wanted to be home to raise my children. So touring doesn't mean on the road all the time. Okay, touring can mean that, but it can also mean going out once a weekend or twice a week to go do shows regionally where you're at or in town. But there's always a lot of logistics involved in that. Hotels and travel, sometimes airline flights and parking. And we have to talk sometimes about liability insurance. Let's go back to business and revenue, right? Pillar 8. There are some events that I'm doing when I'm touring, I'm out playing, and maybe it's a flyaway date, and they go, well, we're at the top of this really exquisite place in Aspen, Colorado, and you can't drive up there, and your people can't come up there unless you have a $1 million liability umbrella policy in place. Well, man, it's a good thing that I did my pillar 8 business and revenue, and I have all that in place because now I can do this really high paying show because I have those things in place. If I don't, they may love me and my music, but they just physically won't let me in the building because I don't have the proper business structure in place. So touring, there's a lot to it. And it's great and it's fun, and you can expand your fan base and different things like that as you're going out and spreading your wings and going into different markets or just regionally where you're at. But there's a lot to touring that you need to understand, and that's why we have Pillar 11 touring to give you all of that information and all of the details of putting your logistics together, going out on the road, but you need to have pillars 1 through 10 in place ahead of time. Hopefully you're seeing how all that works and how one feeds into the other. So we're almost at the end. Pillar 11, touring. Let's move on to the last one. Okay, Pillar 12, the last one. We made it. Release and radio. Now, when I say release, I don't mean upload. Right? Now, remember, a lot of artists get into the RUP cycle. We're going to talk about that. And the U in the RUP, W-R-U-P-P cycle, it stands for upload. We don't say upload, we say release, because you need to have a release strategy with your music. You need to release it out with a plan, and we have those, and put a plan in place, not just upload and pray. That's the last P in the RUP cycle. So release and radio. Why did we put this last? Because your release is going to be so much better. Your songs, your vocals, your studio recording, your business. What if you release something and you're successful and you haven't done pillar 8 and you don't have a business to receive the success, right? The money, the attention, the people that want to work with you. You really want to have all that in place. So as you're releasing to fans, and then you're talking to terrestrial radio stations or trying to get on more streaming platforms and get your Spotify numbers up and all that kind of stuff, you're ready to receive that success. And if you're working with anybody, terrestrial radio program directors or music directors or whoever it is that you're working with on those releases, they can see that you're a legit artist because you've done pillars 1 through 11, and now they're ready to say, yes, please come into the fold, and we have a big event we want you to open up for a major artist, and we want to work with you on this, that, and the other, because we can tell that you've done your homework and you are really in this as a real artist, a real business. So 1 through 12, I hope this helps somewhat, helps you understand why it's important to do them in order, because if you put together your business but you don't have anything to sell because you haven't been in the studio, the business is just going to sit there. If you get into the studio but you haven't worked on your songwriting, you're wasting money in the studio. So hopefully this gives you an idea of why it's important to do it in order. So I hope all that was helpful. I know this was kind of an extensive video, but I really wanted to try to drill down a little bit and say, why do we have these 12 pillars and why are they in this specific order? I hope that this gives you at least some better idea as to why it's so important to make that combination in the right order to build your music career and have a full-time career and a healthy life around music. So if you know anybody else that might need to kind of hear some of this, maybe they're doing things out of order and struggling, hit the share button, send this over to them, and let's try to help them do things in the right order as well. And let's all go down this road less traveled together.